Make him hot. 5 seconds. You're live.
Good evening. This is the Town of Auburn Fire Station Building Committee meeting for March 3rd, 2025. It's 5:30. Call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the review and approval of the meeting minutes from the last meeting. I know they were sent out for review to everybody. Is there any comments, questions, concerns on those meeting minutes? All right, I take
Motion to approve.
have a motion to approve and need a second.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm not voting because I wasn't here for it. So, okay. Those are approved. Next item on the agenda is design updates. Tecton. Matt.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. One item on the agenda for me, and that's updated design renderings. So let's jump right into it. Option one. So last meeting, we reviewed a number of the community conversation feedback that we received about a month ago and looked at developing an alternative option based on some of that feedback, as well as updating the current option that we had so that we can compare the two. For the initial design, some of the comments were around some of the material being a little bit dark, some of the brick being dark, metal panels, things like that, as well as some concerns about how this building would look in the evening or at night. So we updated the palette a bit, updated the renderings, and then created a night rendering. So this is the updated rendering of the initial scheme. We simply lightened the brick up a little bit, and we lightened up the metal panel that was around the back and some of the trims. They initially were black. We went with just a lighter gray. Not exactly like the middle school or the high school, contrasts a little bit, but we felt it more appropriate for this design to render them this way. So this is looking at the side of the building along Prospect Street where the Firefighters Memorial would be in the front of the building. And then this is turning the corner, as you recall, the main entrance off to the left where the soffit sort of turns down and frames that lobby space. And this is what it could look like at night. So we are anticipating some decorative lighting around the landscaping to illuminate the site itself, as well as recessing in some soffit lighting. There was, from the community feedback, there was a lot of positive reaction to the Lexington Fire Headquarters, and that was also shown with some night images that showed the lighting scheme for that. So we took some cues from that feedback and incorporated it into this design as well. So just sort of illuminates that roof edge. It sort of allows the building to sort of give the appearance that it's open for business all hours of the day, because whenever you're coming to a fire station in an emergency situation, you want to know where that is and have it readily apparent at all hours of the day. So it's important. Moving on to the updated design based on the community feedback. And as we had noted at the last building committee meeting, the first couple of questions we asked the community were sort of a grouping of different fire station precedents around Massachusetts and Northern Connecticut, and basically had them rank their best, second best, and third best from those options. And overwhelmingly, the feedback was the fire headquarters in Lexington, Massachusetts was a really nice look, and you know, can we tailor this design to more reflect that. So this is the updated design based on that feedback. So again, this is that same first rendering that we showed earlier. This is along Prospect Street with the apparatus bays to the right, and then the office administrative components to the left on the lower floor, and living spaces up on the left. This took we took away the large single low slope roof over the administrative areas, and changed that to some gable roofs. And I had noted in previous presentations that just covering this in one big gable roof was going to be pretty large. So we incorporated a couple of cross gables to sort of break that mass down. So this gable end facing us sort of aligns with the offices down below in the corridor that abuts that and the bunks. And then we have a cross gable that returns towards the bays, and then another one that you'll see in the next rendering over the main entrance. We had talked, I got some feedback from the fire department previously as well about where the mechanical electrical spaces were and that roof access on the front of on the second floor. So from that feedback, they sort of wanted to push those more to Prospect Street and have the lower roof piece more towards the back. So we reorganized that program, and where that large 2-story curtain wall that went over to that sort of open roof area was, that was questioned quite a bit by the public, is now more of a tower element that separates the apparatus bays from the living quarters. It helps mask this out fairly nicely. And then to balance that out, we did add a little bit of an extension of the roof over the mechanics bay on the far end of the screen, just to give a little bit of balance to the composition of the building overall. Some of the metal panel trim details around windows and some of the more recessed elements that were on the previous scheme, we've replaced that with precast concrete paneling and window surrounds. Again, that was more in line with what we had in the Lexington Fire Headquarters. We simplified the detailing of it a little bit. That had a lot of curving profiles and things like that that just didn't seem appropriate for this building or this community, but still kept the standing seam metal roof and it added a little bit of brick detailing just to break up some of the mass of the facade.
Matt, can I ask you a quick question? The height of the overall gables that you added there, what's the total height? Do you know, ballpark?
Off the top of my head, 35 feet, something like that.
Okay.
Turning the corner, this is more towards the front entry. So you can see how that gable extends down and then is met with another cross gable right over the main entrance. And then we did the original entrance was sort of tucked in a little bit that gave you a little bit of protection as you were coming into the vestibule. We actually extended out a small canopy at the entry here as well to further define where that entrance is and to give you a little bit of cover as you're entering the building itself. And then here's a rendering at night. Again, sort of similar to the previous scheme. We are highlighting some of the soffits here with a little bit of recessed lighting, and then some site illumination as well. But the building should be pretty well activated at night so that it always looks approachable and easily identifiable from the public. Any questions or comments?
I mean, the main one is cost, right? That's what everybody, are we, how much are we increasing the cost of the building by, going with the gable?
Yeah, so I think, Joe, you ran some rough numbers based on the updated design.
There's a couple of things that I want to, let's talk about costs overall. So Matt's team went through the design reductions that we talked about with the program with the fire department, and he actually made some modifications within the building and reduced some of the square footage on the overall cost. And, we estimated that around $600,000 based on the number of square feet that he took off. And you remember we were reporting a little over $30 million initially when I first reported it to the committee. So that being said, there was a reduction of costs associated with that portion of it. My first takeoff and metal roof wasn't one of them initially. I was looking at architectural shingles when I first looked at the overall gable end of it, and we were looking at anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000 for the changes. So our net savings is still under $30 million. With the metal roof, it would add a little bit more value, but not significant enough to break the bank on it. That's right now. That's based on some rough takeoffs that we've done. Once I have a little bit more of the detail information that Matt's team will provide as we move into the schematic design, I'll have better cost allocations associated with each of those details, like the precast that he's suggesting. If they're precast sills, if they're precast, line items are built out on the brick over the precast, how are you going to do the detail within the stone and masonry. You did have some cost savings on the glass structure you took out of there, but you added back brick in there. So one offsets the other, and it's and it'll hopefully minimize as we move forward. There is an increase for this, but aesthetically, I think it's a home run looking at that vision right there. So.
Second question I have, so within the gable, would that be attic space? I assume there'd be an access up there, a pull-down ladder or whatever to get up there if they...
There'll be trusses?
Yep.
Is that what you're intending?
Yeah, these are trusses. We can, it's So if I go back to this, it's not a huge area because, again, we're not taking over this whole span here. So your effective ceiling height in the bunk areas is going to be pretty minimal below the working point of the trusses, right around here. So I would imagine because of the width of this that we'll probably have ductwork and things like that. So our
Yeah.
plenum space we'll be taking advantage of it. I'm not sure we'll have enough room to get air handling equipment up there, but maybe we will. So, there's not a huge upcharge for us to design this with like an attic truss or something like that, where the center portion of the truss is clear and open. So we'll certainly work to explore all those options.
Yeah, I don't
moving
think
forward.
we're looking for necessarily needing extra space. I'm just curious, how much of that would be usable, or is there a use for it that's, maybe,
Ideally, utilizing any space within the attic to provide any, as Matt alluded to, the mechanical sprinkler system, any of that components that we can keep up there. It's gonna save the space within the living quarters where they're at.
Right.
If you look at the distance of that window, so call the ceiling, a foot above that window, your distance from there to the peak, you're talking 6 or 7 feet. So it's workable space to be able to work for the mechanicals more than anything.
Okay.
Okay to say, Matt?
Yeah.
I think with this plan too, there would be no need to move that roof access in the mechanical room around
Correct.
that we talked about in the other plan.
Yep. Agreed.
and then for future expansion on the training center side, even though it's not really germane, like, easy to tie into that some way? Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be simple to extend this up in the future and put a flat roof on it. I think you could even carry this gable
On the
down
inside.
so they both meet the cross gable. I think there's a number of ways that you'd be
Okay.
able to work that out.
Yeah.
Matt, what I'm trying to picture is there's one gable return, say, over the lobby,
Yep.
and then the one in the front. So I'm guessing those don't meet. So what, I know there isn't a rendering of it, but what's on the other side of that peak? Like, say,
So this one,
The apparatus, is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah, what's that roof look like?
so
on the
this
other
one would
side?
run back and go right over the staff entry. So this is basically, that roof is following that lobby all the way down.
Okay,
What you would end up having is between this roof, between these three, you're gonna get like a little bit of a horseshoe. So there will be a section of flat roof in between these three.
okay.
That'll
I
make the
figured that,
connection.
but I just couldn't imagine anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. But from the street side, it
Wouldn't
looks
see it at
great.
all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Can you go back one to the Prospect Street?
Oop. Clicking faster than the computer.
Where the mechanical space is, it looks a little top-heavy. Can you do something maybe with the brick coursing to break up above those two
Right-
windows?
right
in
up
the
here?
corner? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think we spoke last time about maybe doing spandrel glazing from that window up, or just something to break up that.
Yeah, we could do that. I think there's plenty of horizontal elements. Over here,
Yeah.
with these lines, with this parapet edge here, and some of the precast.
Yeah, Your precast panels.
We'd be
could
able to
go-
bring some lines around and break that up. We can handle that. We can handle that at very low cost with just some brick detailing. But yeah, it's a big straight run of brick that I think it should have something that breaks that up a little
Did
bit.
that projection come out more in this one?
It did not. No.
Or is it the building setback? Because it looks like it's more pronounced than if we
I
go
think
back.
the mass of it is showing more. The glass was always there. It just,
Well, it was just metal framework above, but I don't remember. Well, I mean, you can go back, 2-3 slides here and see.
Now you have a roof.
I guess it did stick out, yeah. With the framework there, okay. But it is kind of a big
yeah,
hunk out there.
definitely identifiable.
You think people might mistake that for the main entry? Because of where it is and how it looks?
I think the flow of the traffic coming around
Yeah.
really indicates the location of the entrance.
Yeah, I think in understanding the way that the building is situated and the way that the main roads work, you're not going to be approaching it like this very, very often. I mean, you're mostly going to be approaching it from the main streets where you're gonna see that entrance before you're sort of seeing some of this.
Put the green dome on it. Put a cupola there.
I'm gonna ask the committee, you know, a preference over the two and formally have a direction or at least a verbal vote so that the architect knows what direction to move forward with moving forward, you know, from this point on.
Okay. So,
We could straw poll. Or we could just make a motion to adopt one or the other.
right,
Because our next public forum is gonna be coming up soon, and I
Yep.
wanna be able to present this in, you know, harmony with the entire committee as well.
Here's how I do it. Does anybody not prefer this over the other one?
Could just make a motion on this.
Yeah. Yeah, then I'll make a motion that the committee adopts this as the design going forward.
Second.
all right. Any other discussions? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It's a vote. Yeah, I mean, I think this, I mean, it certainly has a lot more character and warmth to it. I mean, and also, if we, I mean, as we venture down the road, we'll probably be looking at the backsides of alternate materials and stuff, you know, using the brick and stuff all to the front and maybe, you know, lessening some of the or even over the bays and everything to use other materials to, you know,
I think this design would collect far fewer negative comments than
Well,
the other.
yeah.
than the other.
That's
I had people say, it looks like a shed added onto a garage.
Not anymore.
Let's not trash the architect too much, but
No, but
I do think what this shows is, like, we took the public feedback and we've adapted to it, right? So we took that into account, so I think that'll be appreciated.
And you know, with all due respect to the community, you were trying to save money for the overall community. You know, looking, and what you've done since then is you've actually reduced the overall square footage, still meeting the program needs, and architecturally brought it back to a point where you wanted the building initially, so,
you just
That's
don't
the
look
best.
good in a cheap suit.
right.
I do.
Okay. Thank you for that.
And Matt, thank you to you and your
Thank
team.
you.
Yep.
That was a quick turnaround, and I like it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Looking forward to building it.
Let's get those on the committee page. I know Chief Coleman had to go, but let's get the updated images so that we can get them on the website there so people can see them, and maybe we can get something out that says, hey, we had this meeting and, you know, based on feedback, here's the updated, you know, the updated look.
all right. Next items are OPM updates
Great.
and
I
stuff.
have a few things that I want to just discuss. First of all, I want to thank the captain and the DPW for coming out on February 21st. It was, my hands finally started to thaw after that day with the borings that were going on. It was a cold day, wouldn't you say, Captain?
Yeah, it was a little cold.
So we were able to lay out the 6 test pits that were necessary. Thank you, Matt, and your team to provide those drawings. And it, you know, it gave us a, you know, proximity to how we needed to lay it out. All 6 borings were done. The test pits were postponed just because of the frost levels that were on the ground. And we can do that at any time. The borings were probably essential for a number of different reasons, identifying any unsuitable material or ledge or that type. The good news is test pit 1, which is closest to the Memorial Garden area, they hit resistance about 11 feet down, which is good news. That could be the boulders, rocks, so it wasn't significant enough to create concerns of ledge. All of the others were 16 to 18 feet plus before it hit the resistance. So that's good news overall. I did talk to Matt and his team, and we decided that, you know, we would be carrying trench rocks and boulders allowances. We're going to keep that conservative within the bid, so that just in case we run into any situation where we need to do it, we at least have the value there, and then we'll carry a unit price for any boulders, 3 by 3 or bigger, for removal of that. The test pits will coordinate over the next couple of weeks. It looks like we're gonna get a break in the weather. Frost is finally starting to come out of the ground from what I'm seeing on a lot of different localities. A little slower up this way than towards the Cape, but we're getting there. I just wanted to give you that information. The trifold, I did provide the chief with some further clarity on some questions that he had related to some of the public's questions that were coming in. And both Matt and I provided basically a graph showing, what the cost of construction was pre-pandemic to the point where we are in design. And the graph is pretty significant and shows real clarity as to, where we're at based on that number and today's cost for construction. I think he's gonna provide that as an update to the webpage, as well as maybe providing a little bit of that documentation within the trifold. Speaking of the trifold, we're looking, and we talked about having the public forum the third week in March. I don't know of a location or a date or time on that yet, but we probably need to narrow that down so we can at least publicize it on the webpage and whatever social media we can to try to get, bodies there so that they can ask those questions and see some clarity to some of the work that we've been doing since our first charrette. And then as I indicated, the third week in April, I'd like to have another one, because one public forum usually it brings up questions and answers that we can put more clarity in the later part of April prior to the town meeting. That way, all of the questions will be out there, all of the costs associated with the project will be out there, and the impacts. We also attended the finance committee and which I'll let the committee talk a little bit about that, and the select board on the utilization of stabilization and free cash. I think that impact on the overall tax implications is going to be essential on the webpage and the trifold as we move forward, including the public forums that we're going to have. And that's pretty much everything I have. I want to talk, once we have enough information on the trifold where I think over the next couple of weeks we should be able to formalize that and get it out on the street. We talked about forming a subcommittee of this committee to be able to be involved with that. I don't know how far along you've gotten on that, but I'd like to, over the next week or so, iron that out one way or the other.
Joe, if I could just add too, one of the other things we talked about, I thought it was last committee meeting, was once we got settled on the renderings, developing a couple of boards that could be shared around different community events and all that. So I think
We were
the
gonna
timing
do,
of that as well and how many you need.
we were talking town hall, library, whatever
Yeah,
location that you'd like to have the boards put up there. And then the trifold should be available right next to it so that they'll look at the drawings, they pick up the trifold, it answers some of the questions that might have been previously asked already. Any questions at all?
I'm just thinking about locations for boards. I think the library is a natural
Yeah, you
one.
just let Matt and I know sooner than later, because, there'll be some preparation that we're gonna probably work collaboratively to put together for the presentation, and then, we'll probably, instigate some questions from the public about certain entities of it, and then put clarity to it as we move forward.
Probably town hall and
yeah.
senior center, maybe, I don't know.
Can you put
Senior
one
Center
right on
worked
site?
well for another community that we did, because it brought in a different, diverse group that needed to hear some of the information, that's all.
Do you put one right on site? Right there where everyone's parked? And they can pull in and grab something, or thinking like a, project signage right before the project. I think that might be an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, we'd have to check on, just do we want people driving through there?
Right,
or not?
right.
That's the, which we may not have a choice, or maybe people using that once the snow melts anyway. Yeah. Could we think about using the signboard as well to just point to a link or something too that says,
That's what I'm saying, I think I brought it up at the last meeting, suggesting that whatever signboard you do, there's an electronic version of it as well, so in the schools and other places that have screens like this that are just on a different location, they can just run that presentation.
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I was also thinking at the fire headquarters, the existing, signboard, we should probably have a link or QR code or something that, not that I want to encourage people that are driving by to have to get their phone out and stuff.
You could even have it just say, look at, building, construction site, website, and then
Yeah, because
link
it's,
to that point, so.
our link is right on the homepage of the,
Yeah, just say,
The
look at
town
our
website.
homepage for further
Yeah.
information.
and it's a big button down there.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
So. And in terms of venues for at least the first one, I'm thinking just back to the high school again is probably the easiest for everybody to get to, and it's big enough space if we get a bunch of people, and it's a small enough space if we don't get a bunch of people, and enough room, I think, to set up and present.
Are there lit signs or notification signs throughout the town that could say that the public forum for the fire station is gonna be at, this date at this time?
So there's one at the high school, there's one at the fire station, the headquarters, and then I think police sometimes have a portable one they put up.
DPW has,
Or
DPW has portable
I mean, I
ones.
think if you did that,
So-
like a
Oh,
week
the
in
library
advance,
has
it's
one too,
gonna
don't they, or
promote a
no?
little bit more.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that would be, we could put one here maybe, because you get a lot of traffic to the middle school
Even at the site.
drop off. Yeah,
Yeah, speaking of the site, if you wanted to put a board at the site, the Chuck's sign is still on the back of the property that faces the Dunkin' Donuts to advertise for the people going through drive-through.
Dunkin's
Oh,
under
yeah.
construction right now, so no one's driving
Yeah.
through there.
Right, but it'll be open.
Is it soon? Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, hopefully the ice is out of that area then.
It's all
Little skating rink over there.
Yeah.
He knows.
I know.
Yeah, I know, you took a dip.
Yeah, the ice is gone now.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could put the link in the school, weekly update, if we could talk to,
Good, yeah.
the superintendent about that.
Probably reach out. Yep.
Yeah, Dr. Chamberlain did put it in her last, for the last public forum, she put it in the notes that go with all the parents in town, so we just have to ask her again. to send it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, we're still on it. I'm just going to ask right away. Are there any volunteers that want to help Joe and the team with the trifold?
Most of the information's there. I mean, the chief's done a
Just
phenomenal job with the department, correlating the questions and providing that documentation. Now it's just honing it into finalizing it so we get it out on the street, that's all.
Just help with the design and the read-through of it?
I can help. I'm willing to help.
I'll help too. My design's not gonna be good, but
Well, you're going to know what looks
I'm
better
a
or not
master
better.
at MS Paint, so.
How's your handwriting?
You guys have a marketing department, come on.
they don't contact me for obvious reasons.
But yeah, happy to help assemble that and review whatever, just send it my way. He's writing it down,
Thank
so
you.
I'm committed now.
Thank you
You'll
very much.
let me know whatever that group might be.
Sounds like it's Alex and Greg right now,
Yeah.
unless anybody else wants to throw their hat in. Doesn't require you to do design stuff. It just helps out with the layout and what
gathering
looks good,
information.
reading it and stuff. Different sets of eyes on it. But okay. Next up is just our general committee discussion topics. If there's anything people had on their minds and wanted to bring up.
Want me to give an update on the finance
Oh,
committee?
sure.
Yeah, so, the last couple weeks, my understanding is the Board of Selectmen did take a vote
Yep.
last Monday. So, yeah, we'd met with, the Board of Selectmen, I think we mentioned that on the prior meeting, who had voted to approve at least $5 million of free cash to go towards to offset borrowing. And then sort of directed us to the finance committee to see what their recommendation was, and we met with the finance committee, and their recommendation was unanimously 8 million of free cash to sort of offset the borrowing. And so that went back to the very long Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday. And at that point, my understanding from the minutes is that they did vote to take the recommendation of the finance committee, and so they're going to go forward with a warrant article to allocate $8 million of free cash to offset borrowing. So if we're, $30 million project would be a borrowing of $22 million, which is at a median or average or typical Auburn house, got us under $200 a year in impact from the borrowing. Probably about 170 and something,
179,
179, a year. So I think all positive. I think it's exactly, why the town has the financial policies that they do, and why they build up those reserves so that they can do that. And so I think we're probably in about as good a situation, with this project, and working to keep it under to the size we did, as well as the financial planning now.
The clarity, I think, helped the explanation at how quickly they were actually rebuilding that free cash and stabilization shortly after it was utilized. So, I mean, the town's doing a phenomenal job at recapturing a lot of that right away, so.
Yeah, because I do know they budget very conservatively for things like new growth, so that's where a lot of that comes from. So that's kind of the update there. So financial plan for this project, it's a $30 million project, about 25 construction, about 5 for soft costs and contingency and those sorts of things. The town's, looking to put $8 million of free cash, which is money that's already, it's not new taxes, it's already collected money, which would mean the town would have to borrow 22 million. So that's what would be on the ballot, would be a debt exclusion for 22 million to complete the project. So I think that's about as good a situation as we could have, landed in. So, if anybody asks, how much is it going to cost, that's the number now. That's till, I don't anticipate that changing at all until the vote.
Well, it's
We'll
good.
provide
It'll be afterwards when we
after,
start to get
yeah.
into the
Yeah,
refining the design and estimates and everything as we go along here.
yeah.
And if we can find value engineering and stuff.
Mark, just one other, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'll make it to the microphones from all the way back here, but just a thought, I know our sort of focus right now is to get to the town meeting members and voters shortly after that, but should we be engaging the business community through Chamber of Commerce? The fire department just had a great success story in the last couple of weeks where they were at one of the dealerships in town knocking down a fire inside the building within 2 minutes, 4 minutes. The response time was unbelievable. So I think to get the support of the business community and, beyond their taxes, I think looking for their support, ideally in more ways than just their taxes, towards this project, I think would be worthwhile for the overall health of the project.
Maybe a presentation to the chamber.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I think the same.
Do they have regular meetings do we know, or?
I don't know. I'm not that way yet.
We can find that out pretty
Yep.
easily. Though, so. Yeah, I'm thinking presentation similar to what we've been doing with the town committees and board. Just say, here's where we're at, here's the project, here's a picture, here's why we're doing it, here's what the cost is going to be, here's the impact, here's the timeline. Are there any questions? Type of presentation, I think.
I think that the chief had mentioned, the insurance, I don't know what the ratings that insurance utilizes for our community and the good rating that we have for our homeowners. I imagine that certainly benefits our homeowners insurance. I can only imagine what it does towards commercial properties that are worth, millions, the amount of savings they have by having a good insurance rating within the town for the fire department.
Yeah.
So I really feel like it's in their best interest to get behind this project as well.
Any other comments, discussions? All right, next item up is public comment. I don't see any extra public here, so don't have that. So right now, our next scheduled meeting would be Monday, March 17th, back here. And we'll send out notices on that and stuff. Other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.